Hey YouTube, today I thought I'd make a short video and ask for your guys' opinions and thoughts. We're trying to come up with a name for the homestead. So that's the kind of the purpose of this property. We really want it to be a homestead. We've moved out from living in a small town, but we've moved out to the country, and we want to be able to raise our own food, raise our own animals, be a little more self-sufficient. So we want this to be more of a homestead environment, so we wanted to come up with a homestead name for the property. And then if we later became had some kind of a side business using the property, we could use that same name in that business. I think ideally in the future sometime it'd be great if my wife could quit her job and then she just do something here on the property and make a little money on the side. I think that would be the ideal thing in the future. We'll just have to see how that works out. But right now we've come up with a list of about 15 homestead names, and we've got that whittled down to 4 names. All 4 of these names have a little bit of they have a meaning behind them. So I thought we'll go around. I'll just kind of tell you what the names are and explain what the meanings of these 4 homestead names are, and get your guys' thoughts and opinions on which one you think we should use. And then I'll also probably rename the YouTube channel. Since I don't live in a small town anymore, I'll probably go ahead and rename the YouTube channel after the homestead name that we end up picking out. So you guys are going to have a little bit of input on the channel name basically as well. So let's get to it, and I'll show you the names we've picked out, and if you guys have any other names that you think that's different, go ahead and post them in the comments. So the first homestead name that we have is the Pleasant View Homestead. So the floor plan for the log cabin that we have here, that we just built, was called Pleasant View. So our floor plan is based on the Pleasant View floor plan. So we thought that, the cabin was named Pleasant View, and also when you come to the back of the cabin, we've got a 3.5 acre pond back here, and it's a very pleasant view from the back of the cabin. So we thought that the Pleasant View Homestead was a decent name. So the second homestead name that we have is 23 Cedars Homestead. So back on this east side of this property, we've got a bunch of cedar trees all through here. Over here you'll see some walnut trees. There's actually a line of cedar trees behind those walnut trees. So there ends up being 23 cedar trees just in this little area of the property. There's more than 23 cedar trees in the whole property, but just right here is 23 cedar trees, and my wife just loves this area with all these cedar trees. One other meaning that we could pull out of the 23 is we actually have 41 acres, and we rent out 18 of those acres. So that leaves us with 23 acres that we actually use here on the property that we're going to be able to kind of mold into our homestead. So the number 23 actually has a couple different meanings, but so the second name that we have is 23 Cedars Homestead. So the third homestead name that we've come up with is it's actually the Reclaimed Homestead. Was the third name that we came up with. Now the meaning behind the Reclaimed Homestead is that my great-great-grandfather actually owned this property from 1924, I believe, to 1946. And my grandmother remembers being here as a kid when she was really young, like 6 or 7. So now this property has come back into the family, so it's kind of reclaimed. So the second homestead name is the Reclaimed Homestead. So the fourth name that we've come up with is the Mended Homestead, because at one point in time this was a nice farm and homestead, and it had fallen into really bad shape. Everything was was falling apart. There was trash everywhere. It has just been kind of let go, and we want to basically try to get everything cleaned up and try to rebuild it back into a nice property and a nice homestead. So that's where that name comes from, the Mended Homestead. So those are the 4 homestead names that we actually whittled our list down to. So my wife, she took those names, she posted them on Facebook. She kind of asked people what they thought, which ones they would pick. And most people picked 2 of those names were basically stuck out as choices that people picked. And then some people posted some suggestions. And there was one suggestion that my wife actually did like, and it was a combination of the first 2. And instead of Pleasant View, instead of 23 Cedars, it was Cedar View Homestead. And she kind of liked that name. My wife really likes the idea of the cedar trees. She likes the cedar trees because there's a ton of cedar trees on this property. So we're going to go ahead and add that one to the list as a choice. So Cedar View Homestead will be the 5th choice on the list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to put a poll in the video. I've never done that before. I'm going to try to put a poll in the video for you guys to choose. And then, yeah, if that doesn't work, just go ahead and write your, what you guys think in the comments below. If you guys think there's something different that you would pick out, or you have a whole new idea, go ahead and post that in the comments below. I do appreciate any input that you guys give us. Thank you.